good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to see smiling faces and so many people here. This is a very important moment. It's a moment where the promise of equal protection from environmental and public health hazards for all people, regardless of race, income, culture, social status, it doesn't matter. It all comes together today. And I'm so happy because today, Marylanders, all of us, are going to benefit from a new executive order on environmental justice. Let's give a round of applause. One may ask, why does Maryland actually need an executive order on environmental justice? Thanks for asking. I am very happy to give you the answer to that question. So let me just share with you why it matters. It solidifies Maryland's unwavering commitment to environmental justice, irrespective of what the noise is around us. You know what I mean? It matters to Maryland, it matters to me, it matters to the governor, and it matters to you. It broadens the responsibility of environmental justice beyond just the responsibility of Maryland's Department of the Environment. It's for every single agency in Maryland. It's a part of the core of what we do in our business. So it's not just, people think it's just, this is something that Maryland's Department of the Environment should do, but no, it's for all of us. And we are all hands on deck, making sure that we are protecting communities together. It also centers and brings people and communities together so that particularly those communities that are facing the brunt of pollution, the ones who have been left behind for just far too long. And this is a day, again, that we're changing all of that. Because everyone in those communities need to be at the table. The decisions that we're making on behalf of them is not fair when they're not at the table listening and have a point of view about what's going on and what's impacting them. So today, it is a directive for action. That's what we're talking about today. It is a blueprint for equity. And our environmental leadership must always be intertwined with our commitment to justice for all. Governor Moore, you demand what we're talking about today. I demand it. We are already making progress in Maryland. And if you look around, you know that Maryland does not look like the Maryland it was 3 years ago. We know that. So we have made a lot of progress, but more to come. So this kind of engagement that we're talking about, this is not a one-time effort. It's the foundation of our approach. And Governor Moore is leading the change. We're just getting started, and we're going to do this together from this point forward. So please help me join our wonderful Governor, Wes Moore.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I apologize. I came in a little bit late. We were hanging out with the kids outside, and as Ms. B pointed out, there is no sound greater than hearing children playing and hearing children be free. It's why we all do this work, because it's the same joy that we just want them to experience and feel, and to have that sense of freedom about everything that they are and everything they can achieve with their lives. But to do it here, to have an announcement so important here inside living classrooms, it just means the world to know that we are surrounded not just by partners who are all responsible for this work that's happening, but also in a place that continues to foster it and lead with such beauty and such integrity. Secretary McElwain, I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for the outstanding leadership and stewardship that you continue to show, and frankly, just the love of the environment that you continue to lead on. And I think about how many others of our teammates are here. Where I'm looking up, seeing Secretary Addix and the fantastic work that's happening over at Ag. By the way, yesterday we had our buy local event. And I tell you, Maryland is the best foodie city in the entire country. Our Chief Sustainability Officer, Megan Conklin, I just want to say thank you for all the, yes. Where, you know, when we came on board and we said that really bringing all sectors together in this conversation was going to be imperative for this work to happen and for this work to happen effectively, and saying that we're going to prioritize a sustainability officer, and Megan, you have been just an absolute joy to be able to not just work with, but also deliver the kind of results that we're hoping for, and delivering results that we wouldn't even dream to imagine that you're showing, which are not just real and also just possible. Also here with Secretary Secretary Strickland, Head of Emergency Management, and you know, where you always say that when tragedies strike or disasters happen, you want to make sure that you have the right and steady hands that can help guide us through, and you have been that and more. Not just throughout our administration, but in prior administrations as well. I want to say thank you. And Secretary Lee, just what a blessing it is to have such extraordinary Secretary of State. And so thank you so much. We're also really honored to be here with one of the most, not just my friend, but truly one of the most outstanding members of the Maryland General Assembly, Delegate Jazz Lewis. Jazz has continued to lead on so many different fronts, and to just continue watching not just the powerful legislation that you introduced, but also just the powerful vision that you continue to provide. We're deeply grateful and deeply thankful to you, to our champion of environmental justice, Bernice Miller-Travis. I'm glad I didn't have to, I was about to say this is someone who absolutely needs no introduction, especially everybody in this room. And so we're just deeply thankful for the work and for the service and for the vision that you continue to provide. And also the chair of our Commission of Environmental Justice Communities, Camille Burke. Camille, thank you so much. Thank you. We're also here joined by Gabriela Limas from Latinos Unidos. And so, Gabriela, I just want to say gracias. Gracias por todo. And also, importantly, to our hosts here, for our team over in Living Classrooms. We want to be sure that we don't miss this moment. We want to be sure that we're going to be intentional about the policies we're pushing, but also because we want to be intentional about the state that we are creating, about the environment that we are fostering. That we know, and we talk about how this idea that so many of the greatest assets that we have within our state are things that we did not create. We were born into. And how we think about the air that we breathe, how we think about the water that we drink, how we think about the communities that we exist in, how we think about our ability to make sure that we do not have children that are growing up in heat islands, how we are making sure that we are not just being resilient, but also that we are prepared to recover when tragedy happens. All these are things that become crucially important if people want to look back generations from now and say, did we, in this moment, did we understand the assignment? Did we understand our job? And did we understand the crucial and critical obligation we have? That we have an obligation to hand this state off to those children who we were just with outside. We have an obligation to make sure we're handing them a world that's even better than the one that we inherited. That's our job. And that is what today's announcement is all about. Because in a few moments, I will very proudly sign an executive order advancing environmental justice in the state of Maryland. Now, this executive order is called Valuing Opportunity, Inclusion, and Community Equity, or as y'all learn that elected officials love, it's an acronym, VOICE. And it's not just saying that Marylanders are going to have a seat at the table, but they're going to say that Marylanders will have a say when they are sitting in that seat. That it's not just enough to make sure that a person has a place in the room, but it's important to make sure that they know that that room is incomplete without them. And their voice is going to matter. Because I know that for far too long that has not been the case, and I know that for far too long the numbers have been staring at us and showing us that hasn't been the case. And results speak for themselves. That the asthma rates in Baltimore are well above the national average due to pollution, and that is not because our children who are growing up or who are born in Baltimore are just born with lungs that are weaker than others. That we know that Maryland is home to some of the worst heat islands in this nation, largely, by the way, concentrated in low-income communities, and it's not just because the sun just happens to shine hotter in communities of color and low-income communities. We know these stats. We know these results. We know that we are a state that is 70% either water-lined or water-locked, so when there is a storm, like we saw last night and the night before and the night before. By the way, anyone who is not paying attention to the fact that the weather is changing and the climate is changing, please wake up. Please wake up. And when we are a state that is 70% either water-lined or water-locked, that it can take weeks for our low-income communities to recover from that. That flash floods and these things that we are seeing, they are real, and particularly real for many of our already harmed communities. That many of these outcomes are a result of generational neglect from people in power. That, let's be clear, the things that we are seeing are not just because, they are because of policy decisions that have been made in the past. And that the policies that we are seeing, even if they were not overtly cloaked in racism, they were definitely seeped in it. And if we know that the things that we are seeing are because of policy decisions, we then also know that the way you have to address it is better policies and better decisions. And it is our turn to turn the tide. Our executive order has three main components that I will focus on today. The first is that we need to follow the data. A few years ago, the Maryland Department of the Environment launched a groundbreaking environmental justice screening tool. And with the leadership of our secretary, it became the gold standard for helping policymakers to deliver tailored solutions to communities suffering from environmental injustices. Now, that's something that happened in the state of Maryland. But just miles down the road from us, since the new Trump-Vance administration took office, we haven't been able to rely on federal data because that data is not being released and that data is not now readily available. But in this administration, that won't be enough to make us give up. Because just because we no longer have a willing partner in the federal government does not mean we just sit there now and take it. We mobilize and we step up. And that is why we are updating our environmental justice map to operate independently from our federal sources and without the need of our federal partners. This allows us to continue the work, even when you have greater state-specific customized data inaccuracy, because that's still going to get us to our larger goal. That under this executive order, I am requiring state agencies to use this new, improved, data-driven map to inform their policy work and to inform the decisions of their agencies and departments. This will keep everyone on the same page, making sure that everyone is using the same data. And it will empower us to track disparities related to environmental hazards, to exposures, to risks, to health outcomes, to investments, and to benefits. The second thing this executive order will do, we are prioritizing partnership with the communities that we serve. This administration is guided by a simple principle. We don't focus on politics, we focus on people. The politics don't matter. The people are everything. And I'm instructing all of our state agencies to seek opportunities for meaningful engagement with communities most impacted by environmental injustice?
Yes.
Yes. We are starting with our community leaders inside this room. But we need to make sure that we are reaching the leaders outside of this room as well. That everyone deserves a seat at the table. Our children deserve a seat at the table. Our families deserve a seat at the table. Our grassroots leaders deserve a seat at the table. Our farmers deserve a seat at the table. And as part of this larger effort to place people at the center of our environmental justice work, I'm ordering state agencies to accelerate progress, removing barriers that have always historically stood in the way of our underrepresented farmers. That our farmers need to be seen and heard in this conversation as well. And that includes tackling things like access to financing. That includes things like tackling access to land. And it's going to ensure that we can drive economic growth in every single part of the state, from Western Maryland to the Eastern Shore, to everyone in between. If we know that agriculture is the largest industry in the state of Maryland, let's also make sure that the people who are in charge of helping to deliver in that largest industry in our state are also part of this conversation as well. And the third, we are creating space for greater partnership within state government itself. Environmental justice won't just be the work of a single department. Environmental justice is not a lane. It is a lens. And it will be done on behalf of and in support of all of us. So I'm establishing an interagency environmental justice and Equity Advisory Council, and it will be the hub for collaboration across 13 different state agencies in the state of Maryland. This council will be chaired by the Deputy Secretary of the Maryland Department of the Environment, and they will be responsible for submitting regular reports to my office and my attention with the council's results. Each agency on the council will be responsible for submitting their own public reports on how they are advancing environmental justice, because action requires regular accountability. So these are the three prongs of our work: a shared commitment to following the data, a strong partnership with the community, and greater collaboration across state agencies. And our state is going to be better off because of you. Our state is going to be better off because of today. Because when we build a healthier, a more resilient, tougher neighborhoods that are actually honoring the genius and the promise that live in those communities already, we aren't just avoiding the bad consequences for some, we are building new opportunities for all. That's our job. That's our mission. That together we have the chance to create communities that are thriving, that are growing, that are contributing more to our economic strength. That together we have a chance to create jobs, create pathways to work, wages, and wealth, whether we're investing in new resiliency projects or new public parks. That climate justice is economic justice. And together, we are going to drive new measures of economic growth for every single part of this state. And I do know that we are saying this where it is coming with a bit of context, because I know this is different from what we're hearing from our folks in Washington, D.C. right now. Just a little bit. But at a time when we are actively watching a president of the United States walk away from working families and communities of color, at a time when we have a Congress that is willing to sit there and watch while the White House dismantles environmental programs, at a time we are bracing for major job cuts and major cuts to programs that are supporting our children, that are supporting our seniors, supporting our rural hospitals, and and supports that our working families rely on, we in Maryland are going to prove there is a better way. And we're going to show there is a better way. So I want to end by speaking directly to the people who, some I see in the back, and to the ones who we also saw when we were coming in here. Our students. The ones who are about to have the batons in their hands. I want to say we're going to do everything in our time to make it easier for you. We're going to do everything in our power to know that you should not have to deal with the same challenges that we are dealing with now. We will do everything to let you know that in this moment we proved how much we loved you by the sacrifices and the work that we are willing to put in this moment. That this is your state too. That you belong here. You are the reason that we need to succeed. And there is not a single room that you are in that you don't belong in. And that every room that you are in, you're in that room because the room was incomplete until you showed up. That is how we center our work. And this is what it means to leave no one behind. And I'm proud now to turn the microphone over to my friend, a true partner in this work, and someone who is one of the greatest voices and minds of the environmental justice movement that our state has. My friend, Delegate Jaz Lewis.
I got to go after that. First, I want to say good afternoon. I'm thankful to the governor and Secretary McElwain and your entire cabinet and team for having the vision and the courage to act, for not talking about something abstract, talking about people, about lives, about whether a child can take a deep breath without fear, about whether a mother can trust the water that's coming out of their tap, about whether families in places like West Baltimore or in Bowie or in Capitol Heights are seen, heard, and protected. Environmental justice is not a luxury. It is essential to government to maintain the quality of life for its people. It is a right. It is not charity. It is dignity. It's about correcting wrongs that were made by policy, by neglect, and sometimes by silence. And I've said this before in Annapolis and in talks with advocates and with folks in industry, and I'll say it again today, that some communities in Maryland have borne the burden of pollution and environmental harm for far too long. That did not happen by accident, like the governor mentioned. It happened by design. And if injustice was written into our policies, then justice must be written into them, too. And that is exactly what this executive order begins to do. It sets the foundation for a new kind of leadership, one that doesn't just work for the few, but for the many, the whole of Maryland, that maps out where the pain is greatest and directs our state resources to those places. One that makes sure that no community, whether that is rural or urban, black or white, rich or poor, to quote the governor, is left behind. And I say this with conviction as the sponsor of the Cherish Our Communities Act, that this executive order is not just welcome, it is necessary. Because this movement for environmental justice will take all of us. It will take legislation, executive action, and the voices of everyday Marylanders standing up and demanding better. So whether you rest your head in Lexington Park or Hagerstown, Prince George's or Baltimore, you deserve clean air. You deserve safe water. You deserve to live in a community with dignity that is healthy and whole. And progress is not always going to be fast. I know the road is long, but I also know what happens when we stay the course, when we push, when we speak up, and when we get in good trouble. Just this week is 5 years since the passing of Congressman John Lewis, who's like a mentor of me. So I think today we're saying that we're getting into some necessary good trouble. Wouldn't you say so? So today we celebrate, but tomorrow we continue the work until every Maryland child and family can live and breathe easy, away from harm, and grow up in a state that shows their dignity, their worth, and fights for their future. So thank you so much, and let's keep the faith. I believe next up is Ms. Miller-Travis? Or is it Camille? All right, there we go. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to take a minute to acknowledge our governor of the great state of Maryland, because Maryland is by far the best state in the union, without saying so. Secretary McElwain, Delegate Lewis. I'm Camille Burke. I'm chair of the Governor's Commission on Environmental Justice and Sustainable Communities. I have the honor of working alongside a passionate group of people, some of whom are here, who are committed to amplifying the voices to those who have been overlooked. It's important to understand that our state representatives and our agencies are held accountable to the residents and the community members which they serve. Today is about environmental justice. Environmental justice is about a basic fairness. It's about making sure that all of us in this room and all Marylanders, no matter where they live, their zip code, their income, their background, are all treated fairly and have the right to live in a safe and healthy environment. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Everyone, I can't say this enough, deserves to breathe clean air, drink clean water, and raise our children in safe and thriving communities. It goes beyond protecting the environment. It's about dignity. It's about equity. It's about basic human rights. Today is an incredible step forward in our collective responsibility to make sure that each community, no matter their race or income or where they live, have a fundamental right to a healthy environment. This executive order reaffirms a truth that far too many have been denied way too long. Environmental protection must include everyone. It's not just about policy. As the governor said, it's about people. It's truly about hearing the voices of the frontline communities that put their health and well-being first and making sure they have a seat at the table. It's about weaving environmental justice into the very fabric of how we govern, and permanently and intentionally. Let this be more of a statement, and let it be a promise that equity will not be an afterthought, but a guiding principle. The marathon continues. Thank you. I have the honor of welcoming Ms. Gabriela Lemus.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Moore, Secretary McElwain, and also I'm going to give a special thank you to Deputy Secretary Atkinson, who first shared this executive order with me and is doing phenomenal work, Mr. Governor. I'm honored to be here today in two roles. I'm the Executive Director of Maryland Latinos Unidos, but I also am proud to sit on the board of the Maryland League of Conservation Voters. We're living in what's often called a VUCA world. What is VUCA? Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. These are not just abstract terms. For the communities we serve, especially immigrant, rural, historically marginalized communities, this uncertainty is deeply real. That's why this executive order matters so much. In uncertain times, states must lead. And today, Maryland is doing just that with the signing of the Voice Executive Order. I love the name, Valuing Opportunity, Inclusion, and Community Equity. Ugh, makes me feel good. This EO, though, it's not just symbolic. It's a strategic step forward. It creates the Interagency Environmental Justice and Equity Advisory Council, which is amazing because it brings together state agencies to build a unified response to environmental disparities that cripple our communities. It means we'll get to use tools like the EJ mapping tool to target resources more effectively. It means we'll develop agency-level EJ strategic plans that engage directly with communities. I love that. And well, I don't know if there's any federal programs left, but for those that are there, it aligns those federal programs to get funding where it's needed most. And just as important, it signals a culture shift. moving from agency silos to a system that centers equity, removes barriers, and builds real accountability. This isn't just about compliance. It's about restoring trust and dignity and justice for those marginalized frontline communities that are often overlooked, but are the communities that we serve. So to the governor and your team, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. And to all of us here in this room, this executive order is kind of a call to action, and it's a foundation because now it's up to us to build something that's real, something that's lasting, and inclusive on top of it. So as we say at Maryland Latinos Unidos, juntos podemos más. Together, we are stronger. So I thank you all, and I look forward to working and starting some good trouble. Thank you. I would like to invite Bernice, sorry Bernice, I don't know your last name, Miller Travis from the Metropolitan Group. Please join me.
Well, you have no idea how long we have waited for this. So that means we were waiting on you, Wes Moore, to get to this moment. Thank you, Governor Moore, Secretary McElwain, Delegate Lewis, Assistant Secretary Anika Atkinson, Chairwoman Camille, and our wonderful civic leader who really brought the fire. Thank you for that. So I have the honor of providing final remarks before we get to the main event, which is to witness Governor Moore sign this historic first ever environmental justice executive order for the state of Maryland. But first, I want to put this day and this occasion into proper historical perspective. In February of 1994, I had the honor of standing in the Oval Office right next to President Clinton as he signed the first ever federal executive order 12898 on environmental justice. And here in our own state, in 2001, Governor Paris Glendening signed into existence via executive order the Maryland Commission on Environmental Justice and Sustainable Communities. Our chair is here, and you heard her powerful remarks. And then on Earth Day in 2023, I had a clear view in the Rose Garden of the White House and watched President Biden sign a new executive order to revitalize our nation's commitment to environmental justice for all. But there was a really special day on January 18, 2023. Many of us gathered in Annapolis to witness the historic swearing in of Wes Moore as the 63rd governor of Maryland. It was a great day. It was 60 freaking degrees in January. You know, the Lord was looking down. And he closed his inaugural address with these words, and Governor Moore, please forgive me for quoting your words back to you. And he said, "This is a moment people have dreamed of for generations. Those whose shoulders we stand on would ask us to view today not as a celebration, but as an opportunity to lead with love, to create with compassion, to fight fearlessly for our future. Maryland, this is our opportunity to build a state that those who came before us would be proud of, a state that leaves no one behind. This is not a slogan, it is a fulfillment of a hope. It is our mission, it is our time, Maryland, let's lead." Those were the last things he said before he took the oath. Today, we are gathered here to watch our governor breathe life into those words once again as he signs our state's first ever executive order on environmental justice. The first of what I anticipate will be many steps down the path towards achieving environmental justice for all who call our state home. And you know, we will be watching, we will be encouraging, and we will come and visit when we think you need to get a little bit back. Thank you all.
That was amazing. Well, thank you, everyone. We are going to sign the executive order. So if I can ask all the speakers to please join us at the table, Governor and Secretary Lee. It's kind of hard to follow you, Bernice, but thank you for that. I would say as we're sitting down and getting ready to sign the executive order, can we just give a round of applause for greatness of our governor for doing this executive order?
Done.